here's the big thing. I don't want you going and doing all this playing, and then you come to me because you don't have no money.
Oh, no,
and I will say, our daughter has never said, hey, Mom, I need $100, or payday is next week. I shortchanged myself.
She has figured it out.
She has never come to us and said that.
Out.
But kids do this all the time.
Yeah.
And so if they are playing out here, spending money, all the things, and then they're not adding up what it costs to live and looking at their take-home pay versus that, they're not living in reality. And so we would do them a disservice as parents to not help them see the full picture so that they can make healthy choices.
Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Erica Young, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it.
The For Better and Worth podcast is sponsored by American Heritage Credit Union, a not-for-profit credit union that helps you take control of your financial future.
As a member of American Heritage, you're an owner. You'll be charged fewer fees, earn more in the form of dividends on your accounts, and have access to lower rates on loans.
Whether your goal is to save for a down payment on a home, create an emergency fund, or build for the retirement you've always dreamed of, American Heritage has the products, resources, and solutions you need.
After all, American Heritage is for the people, not for profit. So to learn more, go to ahcu.co/for better and worth. Hey babe, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Back at it.
Mm-hmm.
I say that all the time, back at it.
You do. You do.
We are back at it indeed.
I had a little happy today. We had lemon old-fashioned donuts.
Yeah, you picked those up in the grocery store. I was like, it
was a
trying
treat.
To derail my progress.
No, it was a treat. And see, this is the whole thing because the Girl Scouts were on the way out as well, out of the, grocery store. And you didn't want to get any Girl Scout cookies. And I'm like, we didn't get any last year. And hold on. And you can't take my happiness away because you can't control yourself and you want to eat 6 Thin Mints. So when I wanted a donut.
Hold on.
I wanted a donut.
How you putting my Thin Mint eating business out in the street?
And then when the Girl Scouts was out there and I'm like, maybe I want a cookie sometimes too. I'm like.
Some cookies or times 2?
Yeah. Yes, that part. Because who buys one box of Girl Scout cookies?
Right.
But I'm like, this is the thing. Self-control.
Yeah.
One donut, and when you want some cookies, a couple, not 10.
I think one donut is easy. And we don't buy donuts frequently.
Right, but it brought happiness to me this morning.
I'm glad you're happy.
Because I was like, this is good.
I think this it's a bit of a setup for what we intend to talk about today because we're talking about launching and preparing our kids for, life outside the nest, the real world. And one thing that we have right now is because we are empty nesters, we don't have to worry about the kids eating all our snacks up.
We're semi-empty nesters.
I know, we're months away from being
fully empty
nesters.
Correct.
But she's never here.
She's still in college, the youngest.
Right.
And, in a minute, she'll graduate and be with us for a few months.
Right.
And she's going to be eating up all the snacks.
Then that's a different situation. Because then I had to, put snacks to the side.
You already did that.
And I'm going to continue to, sock a few snacks away.
Because while you didn't want these Girl Scout cookies that we eventually bought, you hid them. Yeah. Because she came to visit for the weekend.
Right. I was like, hold on. I need to put some stuff away. So just protecting my investment.
Oh, my gosh. So having some self-control, I think, is the only way to navigate food. And I also think that it applies to money. And that's what we're hoping to teach our girls.
Definitely applies to money and food, you know, because if you're out of control with money and food, your life is tail spinning.
Yikes.
But I think the interesting thing about this topic here is, you know, there's a lot of responsibility that kids have to walk into once they leave your home. But I think the best thing that we as parents can do is try and build the foundation over time. So it's not, all right, you graduated from high school, you graduated from college, get out of here, go live your life. And if you take that approach or that mentality, I think kids, you kind of setting them up to fail. Unless you have some kids that are like locked in and they, you know, they're ready to go, they're ready to roll. We as parents have to help kind of set the groundwork is what I really and truly believe.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times our young people don't really know what they're getting themselves into. They're very optimistic. They think they can conquer the world, and they don't know what they don't know. So, you know, outside of, they know that it costs something for a cell phone bill. They understand that if they're driving a car, they need some auto insurance. But the truth is, outside of that, they don't have any clue on what the responsibilities are to take care of yourself. And so one of the biggest things, because we have already launched one off. She has been on her own for 3.5 years. We are in the middle or about to launch off our second one fully in the next several months. And it is a process. Like I will say, all through college, I have worked with our daughters on a budget, on their spending, on their expectations, on learning how to pay the bills and how to set those things up. And that has helped them to be consistent. And one of them in particular would never have been a budgeter had we not been consistent like that. The other one might have, or she might, you know, she doesn't really like to spend money. But I think it takes some runway before you are able to launch them off, because we all know it is not inherent. Like, how to manage money does not come to you naturally. It is not something that is just deposited one day in your mind and you know how to do it all.
I also think that it could be overwhelming.
It is, yeah.
Because like just talking to, you know, both of our daughters, like one is getting more experience practically because when she left, you know, we bought her a car, but we put it in her name. So it was her property, her asset. She had to register it. She had to pay for insurance. And, you know, and then when she got to her place and the state she was living in, she had to get her apartment and get insurance for her apartment. And, you know, and just thinking about all of it, I know she can become overwhelmed a bit. And I think it could be a lot for any kid because kids don't realize how many things that parents are paying for or taking care of in the background, especially when they've been away at school. And so going into, you know, launching out, it's like there's a lot of reasons for kids to have some anxiety.
Or trepidation, yeah.
And I think that's why some kids choose to stay at home. Some kids, you know, choose to go off immediately and live on their own. But I think we need to get into a bit of that and tease that out.
So here's the thing, when a kid wants to stay at home, like for me, I was always up for it. I kind of wanted our girls to stay at home a little bit longer. I kind of wanted them to be under the nest for a while. And neither one of them are choosing to do that. And I don't know if that says something about us, that they trying to get away like right away, but I'm like,
I don't think it's us. I think they like their independence and they want to get out and start exploring and living life.
Yeah.
But I think that we've given them foundations. And I've said this on this podcast before and I'll say it again. Like, in fact, both of our daughters have said to me, like, give me the opportunity to put into practice the things that you taught me.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, wow. So I play that back in my head. So I don't take it as a personal affront. I'm like, we've equipped them with the tools that they need. And tools are only as good as when you put them into practice. And so now they can go out and put those tools in place. And sometimes you find you need a different tool.
Yeah.
And I know my dad told me that the right tool makes any job easy. And so I just hope that what we have given them from a roadmap and a pathway are the tools to help them be successful.
So what do you feel like is the best tool you as a dad have given to our girls before they launched off on their own? Financially speaking.
I think that along the way, we've been very transparent with our kids. Because a lot of parents, they don't have like real money conversations with their kids, and I don't think parents are always transparent. And I think that we have been fairly transparent with our kids along the way. When we were on our debt freedom journey, they were right there with us.
Right.
We were talking about it.
We didn't hide it.
Right. Hey, this is what mom and dad is doing, and this is why we're doing it. And so they were on the journey with us, and they were passengers seeing what was happening. When we got out of debt, we celebrated together. You know, and when we made decisions, sometimes we would tell them, hey, we're thinking about some things, and we weren't looking for their input per se, but I think transparency in how you go about making decisions is important. Because I've always said to our kids that you need to really be financially, spiritually, socially responsible, and you need to know how to solve problems and make decisions. And you can't solve problems and make decisions if we never expose them to situations that force them to think and to analyze and assess. You know, like even one of the previous episodes we did talking about the pop shop, we made them work and earn, you know, funds to do some of the things that they wanted. So we showed them that life wasn't just going to be giving to you. You know, there's work and reward. And so I think transparency and just practical things are some of the best things that not I, but we have given them. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like one of the principles that you gave to the kids is that they have to save for retirement, do a Roth IRA. Like literally, like I'm not saying I wouldn't have told them to do a Roth IRA, but you have let them know how important it is because you wish that you were able to really max that thing out.
I think that was more recent.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, I'm just saying like that is something that it was a stronger thing, a stronger principle for you to give to them than some of the other things. And I think for me, the thing that they got for me, obviously, is the budgeting part of it. Like, how do you navigate the day-to-day so that you don't... It's
very necessary.
Right. And so that you don't, like, overdraft your account so that the bills get paid, so that you understand how much you have for groceries, these kinds of things. I've helped them to see the importance of managing that space. But I think the other thing is, you know, when we're raising our kids, I think we need to really be very clear that they can handle stuff. Like, we don't want to shelter them. So when you talk about transparency, I think the opposite of that is sheltering them from some of the hard stuff even, or the challenging things, or the conversations that you may not want to have. And I think as parents, we can feel like if we messed up or tripped up on our finances, that we aren't qualified, if you will, to talk to them about money matters. And I think the biggest mistake that we can make is to launch our kids off and then they're in the dark about how to navigate life, meaning how to pay attention to their bank accounts on a routine basis, how to ensure that they're saving from the jump, how to make the importance of paying things on time, especially if you are allowing them to have credit cards at some point. These things are so important. And I think if we shelter our kids and not let them know that this responsibility is important and should be a high priority, then we can miss out on helping them to really launch off in a confident place. And so the budgeting, I think, is the thing that, and we've often played with some tools with them. Like one of our kids has a tool that she really likes that I did not know anything about. And she, researched herself, and she's,
she found what worked for her.
Exactly. I love that for her.
I think if you shelter kids from the tough things, it can really just backfire because they get out there and they don't understand like cause and effect or, repercussions from actions. And then it turns out they can put themselves in a really, precarious situation, which I would hate to see that happen for kids. And I would hate to see that happen for our kids. But I think sometimes everybody needs a wake-up call because sometimes that wake-up call just pushes you into action. And, you can get positive from it. But like if you're a parent out there and you're listening and you decide to let your kids stay at home, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I would say make sure that they're maximizing on the opportunity.
Okay, so what does that mean, babe?
But
If our kid was staying at home for a year or two, what would you expect of them during that time?
I would sit down and have a conversation from the get-go.
Okay.
Around what expectations would look like.
Okay.
Like if you're not paying rent at home or you're not paying any utilities, if you're just living here for a period of time, I would expect that you're, one, going to build up a liquid emergency fund via a savings. I would expect that you would be doing matching contributions from your employer and trying to do some monies into, your Roth IRA. I had a brain fog for a second. Into your Roth IRA. And then kind of talk about what their goals or strategies were like, what's your plan when you leave here? So it's not you leave here and you still moving by the seat of your pants. I would want to have a plan that we've talked about. Like, what is the goal you're trying to accomplish during this time? Is it to save money? Is it to prepare to buy a car or a house or some purchase? Or I just would want to know. I would want to be very upfront and transparent that like you have to contribute while you live here. If that's take responsibility for chores or something in the house, or even if it's a bill, I think that's what I would do. But
so now I want to say one thing is that because our kids never had student loans, that is not something that we would consider into why they would stay at home. But I actually think that is a really good reason to allow your kids to stay at home so that they can actually pay the loans off.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
If we had that in our toolkit when we were graduating and able to like stay at home, we could have had our debts paid off in less than 2 years. And so so when we're talking about setting them up for success, I think it's important to know what does success look like. Yeah. And I think that is a huge milestone for a lot of people to be able to either pay off your student loans or buy a car with cash, save for emergencies, and also save for the future. I feel like those are foundational things that will help ensure that when they are on their own fully, they can make sure that they're doing it.
It sounds cliche what I'm about to say. It's one of those, old adages. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that's what it's all about to me is like, what does the plan look like? What does it consist of? It doesn't have to, it's not my plan, it's your plan.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to impose a plan on the kids, or if a parent is out there and letting their kids stay at home, I wouldn't be imposing a plan on them, because sometimes parents try and force kids to do what they want them to do. And that's already going to be met with opposition almost immediately. But as a parent, if you are gaining understanding on what the next phase is going to look like, because we've all had to go through it, so we know what it entails, but we will have to just make sure that they are thinking about things. Because I think the thing that's most interesting to me sometimes is when the kids don't realize like really what it costs to run a household and to commute back and forth to work and to buy groceries and dine out and all of that stuff, man.
I think that I guess maybe I'm saying this a couple times on this podcast, the budgeting part of it. We're optimistic on how much all this stuff costs, because even if you stay at home, let's just say this student is, they might have student loans. Let's start here. They might have a car. They got to put gas in the car. They might have auto insurance that they're going to pay because, again, that's their portion,
They're not getting
right?
away from all the expenses.
Right. They're going to have food. They're going to want to hang out with friends and go dine out. They're going to need clothes. They're going to need toiletries. Travel. They want, and so when we think about what they are responsible for that a parent is not going to pay for, it's not small potatoes. This is not $200 a month. It's hundreds or thousands of dollars that they could potentially spend even being at home. So I'm like, add it up. Like, the biggest thing I could say is help them to add it up before they have to start paying for all these things. Because the other thing that I find is it's enlightening to me as a parent that this next generation, I'm just going to talk about the fact that they love experiences and they will spend money that I never dreamed of spending when I was in my 20s. I mean, frankly, we were trying to get out of debt.
We didn't have
it to spend. We were trying to get out of debt. We were building a family because we had our kids. Right. All of that happened in our 20s. We had one child. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so when we're thinking about, like,
our first trip was to Legoland.
Yeah, we drove to Legoland.
Right. And stayed at the Ramada Inn.
Was it the Ramada?
It was horrible. It was horrible is what it was.
A lower budget hotel.
That set the standard for me. I will never go back to this level.
When you come to the front desk and they have just pastries sitting on the desk itself, it wasn't even like a continental breakfast where you had choices. It was like, take this little Danish and move about your way.
I think back to that, I was like, I'm not gonna live like this vacation. We had a ball though.
We had a good time.
We had a great time, but I think that set the course for the rest of our lives.
But that's the thing. People don't think about the fact that, like, these kids want something, and you have to understand what is their motivation. What do they like? Like, our daughter, she gets her nails done. She gets her hair done. She likes clothes. She loves to travel. And so that costs something. Mm-hmm. And here's the big thing. I don't want you going and doing all this playing, and then you come to me because you don't have no money.
Oh, no,
and I will say, our daughter has never said, hey, Mom, I need $100, or payday is next week. I shortchanged myself.
She has figured it out.
She has never come to us and said that. But kids do this all the time.
Yeah.
And so if they are playing out here, spending money, all the things, and then they're not adding up what it costs to live and looking at their take-home pay versus that, they're not living in reality. And so we would do them a disservice as parents to not help them see the full picture so that they can make healthy choices. Our daughter, she will say, all right, this month I will do this and I won't do this. I hear her, it is choices.
Yeah.
It's trade-offs. And so we got to help them to identify that and make that a reality for themselves so that they can be successfully able to maneuver. So one of her things this month was, I need to renew my passport. And so she said, well, this other thing I will not have to pay for, so I can pay for it, because the passport is like $100 and something.
So, but I think that we've helped set them up for success to transition successfully, because we've talked about, when you move into an apartment, you got to have like down payments and security deposits. And, we talked about some of the practical things, the emergency fund. So if something comes up, you have to have something to fall back on. That's why an emergency fund is there. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking about like a gap year between high school and college, or even in college where some kids take a gap year. We're talking about you're done with schooling. Mm-hmm. And now you're in adulthood full-fledged. And so I think we've helped them understand that transition. And that's what parents really have to do, is help them understand that transition. But I'm curious, because we have friends that some have all daughters, and some have all sons. And just talking to them sometimes, it seems like there are two different approaches when it comes to sons and daughters. And we have daughters, and I like to think that I would extend some of the same graces that I extend to my daughters, I would extend those to my son as well. I'm fairly certain I would, because I want the same success, but sometimes it feels like with sons, it's like, all right, you out of college, you out of here.
I know we definitely have friends who were ready to sort of really kick their sons in the tush and get them out. But I think you would be harder on a son. I'm not saying that you wouldn't extend the
Maybe.
same graces, but I do think that you would be harder on the son because you would want, for lack of a better way to put it, you would want him to sort of man up. Like, he needs to be able
That's
to
true.
stand on his own 2 feet. And I, as a mom of daughters, I'm like, I want my daughters to not feel like, I want them to be self-sufficient, take care of themselves. And the truth, the running joke was, I don't want you to end up back in my basement, right?
Yeah, but you know what? I think I want my son to have that same thing too.
Right.
Because I think about my mom and how my mother taught me that I needed to be able to take care of myself. I needed to not depend on and rely on anyone to care for me. I needed to know how to cook, clean, do all the things to take care of myself and not, like, quote unquote, rely on a woman to do those things for me. And so she taught me all those things. And I would want my son to have that same ability. But I was also, we've talked about it, I was a hustler. Like, I was ambitious and I hustled to try and, get things done for myself. I started working when I was 14. Actually, I go back to the paper route days, That was pre 14-year-old job.
Yeah.
So I kept a job. I was always about that hustle, that grind. I was gonna find a way to make it work. And I would hope that that's not something that as a parent you can transition that gene to a child. All you can do is give them the tools, like I've said before, and hope that they use the tools to find success. But I think man up is, I don't know.
I think you put pressure on yourself as a man to do certain things for this household that I don't think you would expect of your daughters. And you expect them to take care of themselves right now, sure, but if they were in a coupled up relationship, like, I do think that you expect more of the man. And so I think that you would expect your son, you would have more expectations of a son so for instance, you would want him to, think about safety. You would want him to think about, I think, because this was a value that you had, you wanted to know that you, as a head of household or a provider, that you could take care of everything. And so I don't know.
Very traditional in my
You are. And so
upbringing.
I don't know if that is essentially a double standard or if it has to do with stereotypes. It probably does a little bit have to do with gender stereotyping, but I do think that you had the traditional mindset. And so when we're trying to launch our kids off, I do think that the couples have to talk about what they expect out of their kids, no matter if they're male or female.
Well, I also have talked to our daughters. I said, you got to be pretty and smart. Okay?
And they are. Our girls are.
They are both. But, there's some pretty ones out there that's just like some, I'm not going to say, they just not as smart.
Not a lot between the ears.
They not the sharpest knife in the drawer, And I say that to mean that you have to be an asset to a relationship. Don't come into a relationship and just be a taker. Because sometimes I think that happens in relationships is somebody is a giver and somebody is a taker. And I've taught my girls to not be a taker, but bring something to the table. Like, and look for something that matches what you bring to the table. So I would expect, like, a son to come to the table like, hey, I've got my stuff together. I'm fully, completely formed as a man. I know how to care for myself. I know how to cook. I know how to do this. I know how to go out and work and be ambitious and grind and provide for my family. And then I would expect my daughters to be like, cool. I know how to, do all of those things. And I know how to go out and work and contribute and build our home together. Because then I feel like that's more assets and fewer liabilities.
Right, right.
And that's where success can occur in coupled relationships.
It's so funny because I look at our youngest and I have said to her, you could have a house husband because career-wise,
Right.
she is ambitious and
She's about that life.
She is about to go kill it. She's about to go make a difference in the world. And I do not see her being an at-home parent.
I see her hiring a nanny or something.
Right. And because some of the stuff around the house she is not interested in. Now, our oldest is actually more of a domestic person. She enjoys, making house and cooking and keeping a space and being creative. She's likes
Definitely
to
a creative type.
Yeah. And so she brings something else to the world, and also it struggles with the whole idea of, she is not trying to climb a corporate ladder. You know what I mean? Like, that's not her goal, her aim. And so when we talk about the differences,
But now she has the ability.
she just doesn't want to.
abilities,
I'm
yeah.
just saying she doesn't. I see her. She definitely has a grace, and I do think it's a grace to be an at-home parent if should she desire to do that.
Yeah.
I think that she would be really great at that. And so, but there are people. When we were, I feel like I saw it a whole lot more in Arizona when we were there. A lot of people would be at-home parents, and
It happened a lot more there.
It's a grace to me that people do that because I've always been a person who wanted to work, even if it was at home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be responsible for all the things at the house. That kind of makes my blood curl, because you asked me to do some dishes and laundry. I'm like, get out of here. You capable? Like, it's a problem.
I'll be like, hey.
It's a problem.
Hey.
Your traditional mindset and my progressive mindset where it comes to household chores, this delineation of responsibility does not have to fall on the woman.
Right. I'd be like, the lawnmower work?
Yep. And I will not touch it. And you're welcome.
Right. Because whenever I have you all come help me outside, I'd be like, you know what? I don't need your help.
It's the worst.
I'd be like, go away.
It's the worst.
Just leave me alone. Because you don't do things the way I want them. And you all out there like, I think you all be outside like trying to do stuff wrong. So I can just say, go away.
Let me just tell you, I don't have a green thumb.
Yeah.
I kill a plant in a hot second. It's a problem.
But I give you like simple directions and y'all be out there. I just be
we
like,
just
you know
be
what?
putzing around because we don't want to do this.
Like, just get out of here.
Why are you asking me to do this?
Just leave.
But here's the thing. There's a lot of things that I do without question. I don't have no problem doing certain things. And what?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. But I think those are things that we have to help our kids know about themselves, and also help them.
It's truly not a one size fits all when we talk about helping kids prepare to exit the nest. But I think it requires time. Okay, I'm gonna get into my make it worth it.
Hold on. I got one more thing.
Okay, go to that one thing. I'm gonna get into my make it worth it.
Okay, perfect. So if there were one thing that I would say that parents should really do, is to help students that are transitioning on their own, is to help them figure out what a true emergency fund is for them. So even if they're at home and they're not taking care of all of the responsibilities of renting somewhere or whatever, help them calculate what that is so that they can actually, when they leave, have a fully funded emergency fund. So for instance, if it's going to take $3,000 a month to take care of themselves, have them to save 6 months of that, $18,000, even though they're not paying $3,000 right now. Like, help them to save that money. And monitor, like, they need an accountability partner, and it does not need to be their friends for a while. It probably should be the parent, to just help them to see, like, if you spend some of it, let's put it back. Those kinds of things. So I think getting detailed with an emergency fund so they know what their target is really important. And that, to me, is, if they're staying at home, really important prior to them leaving, is just having a high regard for an emergency fund and knowing how to keep it, because you're going to need it. At some point, somebody's going to lose a job. You're going to have a medical expense. You're going to have to pay your deductible on your car when you have a car accident. Like you're going to have a baby and there's
All
an
of that.
out-of-pocket expense. You're going to want to purchase a home. And so you're going to need to flex the muscle of saving money into a high-yield savings account for the purpose of emergencies and or other big purchases. And if they never flex that muscle, that's tough, because for, let's just say it's 40 working years and you never learned how to save for emergencies or keep an emergency fund. I promise you, this is one of the biggest challenges I have as a coach when I have worked with people. And so parents are the ones to do that. The young people, they may not have these conversations with one another. And I think it's our responsibility to let them know how important it is.
That sounds kind of like a make it worth it to me.
Could be, but what's yours? What's yours? I'm sorry.
I think you say a lot of good things. I think an emergency fund is very important because you never know what the classic Murphy's Law is. You know, something's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You know, and you can't always plan for it, and that's what an emergency fund helps mitigate. But I think it takes time, and you have to start early in preparing your kids for the ultimate day when they will leave home. It's not something that just happens overnight. And so I just say, as people are listening to this, like every act of parenting is leading up to, I think, that moment when they transition. And though you're not thinking about it in that way, we're preparing them. Help them have a plan, you know, that they revisit, to know, like, if the plan is working, cool. If it's not, they adjust and adapt, and know that it's okay to adjust and adapt, because I'm just full of the old adages now, you know, success happens when preparation and opportunity meet. And so, you know, we have to help them prepare, because when we prepare and opportunities present themselves, it can translate into success. And so for me, it's all about like taking the time to be, you know, mindful and intentional about what we're showing and teaching our kids, so that when they do get out there, they won't be like a boomerang and end up coming right back.
Right. We don't want that.
So
I don't think many people want that. I will add one thing on my Make It Worth It is, if you have, just like you were talking about in the very beginning, transparency. And I was saying we don't want to hide some certain conversations or avoid certain conversations with our kids. Here's the thing. If you practice open communication with them around money, it makes it natural, so that when they are dating or they are about to get married, like they know how to have open conversations with someone. So this isn't just for this moment in life or this season. It is also
for the rest of their life.
Preparation for the rest of their life, and talking with their partner about money matters. And so I just think it is good practice. And so if we can help them to see that this is just a natural part of us having like, for instance, this morning we were having a conversation and I realized, oh, wow, there was this bill. It's an annual bill that we have. And just in that conversation that came up, I was like, all right, let's just pay it right now. It was not a stressor. I was like remembering the different things that I had done earlier in the month concerning that bill or preparation or whatever, making sure to move the money over. And then I was like, now's the time. Let's do it. It was easy. And so...
and it was stress-free. So now
it was stress-free.
Now it's done.
Now it's done. And so I want my kids to feel no stress and pressure because they have prepared themselves for these conversations, be it with another spouse or even just encouraging a friend when they're going through some stuff. So I just think it's good practice.
Yeah. I think we could talk about this a lot longer. But, you know, parents want to see their kids win. I want to see parents' kids win. And I have a heart for, that's what I'm realizing. I have a heart for young adults that are getting into the corporate game or getting out in the world. I got to lean into that more.
You do. I think you have a lot to, you could be a really good mentor.
Yeah. So But this has been good.
Yes.
And so until next time.
We're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support, so be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on forbetterandworth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.